Thanks. Who's first?
Well, in terms of the facility, it's obvious what Marquette gets out of this, but the question is, how do the Bucks benefit? Are we looking at perhaps a new training facility in the future if it comes to that?
So I think, we haven't specifically discussed a new training facility, and so it would certainly be on the table if they were interested. But one of the things I think, they are trying to get a competitive advantage, and universities have a lot of resource, a lot of brain power. Think about applied English research. We have faculty on this campus that are studying amazing things already that would benefit them and their basketball players going forward. So I think they look at it, obviously, the ability for them to attract talent, because individuals they want to have maybe in their sports science area would like to come to university and be part of the university community for the research work that they do. And likewise, it's very applicable for our faculty, staff, and students to be working on something that would be so exciting as helping professional athletes do better.
You mentioned the sources of funding on that. Do you have a price tag for it yet, or both?
No, we're kicking off the design of the facility next week, and so it'd be very premature for me to say what the cost is going to be. But if you take a look at to get an idea, I look at other ones around the country, what those price tags might be.
Any idea on a timeline on when construction can start and when it can be completed?
Well, I think the idea over the next 60 days, I think that there'll be an accelerated design phase. After that, these projects, I would imagine, would take somewhere in the order of 18 months to 2 years to be completed. And so that's the general time frame. Now, I could actually ask Laura Striggins, she's our chief architect. She probably has a better idea about timelines and facilities like this. You have an idea once the design is done? Yeah, maybe just say.
Sure. I think that in terms of our time frame, go up there. I think in terms of our planning time frame, like Mike suggested, we're going to spend about the next 60 days trying to accelerate the design phase of that, and then we'll move forward into more detailed design and programming. That'll take a few months, but I think our goal and Mike's suggestion that over the course of the next 18 to 24 months of a construction period, that would do that. So our goal obviously is to move as quickly as we can with this, so we'll do everything we can to accelerate the design and programming of the process.
Can you give us a little bit more about how a Marquette Police Department would play into the Avenues West neighborhood and your vision for that?
Sure. And I'm going to bring Chris Miller up in a second here, but we look, really, the Marquette Police Department has been our partner for years, and as we've gone through the idea of commission, they've been stepped hand in hand with us, and we've been great partners. Now, once we have actual police officers on our campus, I think we can be part of a very, very coordinated effort, to really help police the near west side. We will still potentially just look at the boundaries we currently police right now and not really get expandable, but I think that one of the great things is once we have the capabilities of the police department, we can then arrest individuals, we can detain them, we can actually track cars that are coming through, things we can't do now that cause Milwaukee Police Department to come into areas on our campus, which we should be able to patrol ourselves and give them more time to hit other areas of the Avenues West.
And then in the bigger part of that, can you articulate a little bit more about what your vision is for Avenues West, or what Marquette's vision is?
Well, I think, to me, Avenues West is probably one of the most exciting issues, that I've ever worked on. And what the vision is we want to create a place over the next decade or so where people are going to want to live to walk to work, where they're going to come in and do their shopping, they're going to go to church, they're going to have high-performing schools, and really have a transformation of this neighborhood. 50 years ago, this was, one of the places to live in Milwaukee. It was the western suburbs, where people from the business community, the medical school we had here, they lived. We want to go back to a day where we can have a similar type neighborhood, and really not transplant anybody that's there now, but really transform the neighborhood in a way that it becomes a destination.
President Lovell, could you walk us through again how the discussions with the Bucks happened?
Well, I think we initially just started talking about, as they were thinking about building the new arena, we actually had meetings to talk about what role Marquette would play. And it became, as I said in my talk, it became very clear during our discussions that this is more than just co-locating in a building, that we were going to be strategic partners. And in all honesty, Wes Eaton and myself are very similar in many aspects. He's a marathon runner and triathlete, and so we hit it off from the start. But as we talked, we thought that we could really benefit from each other, and not just in terms of the Lake Forest Research Center, but how we developed the new arena once it goes in, the design of it. And I can tell you, they have really been true to their word in terms of being a strategic partner. They've included us just about every step of the way in terms of what this building will look like in the design. And, I just think it's, for us, it's very exciting. I think that playing in a pro sports arena gives us a competitive advantage in terms of recruiting student athletes and what we can do in terms of outreach to our community and having that facility for our fan base and our alumni. So, it started just with a couple of meetings, and then as we started talking together, we both really had a pretty big vision of what this could be and how we could work together to transform Milwaukee. So if you think about it, we can go from down at the river, 800 block of Michigan Street, near West Side. We can go the whole way from the river to the viaduct and help redevelop, and that makes me pretty excited.
Not that there was really ever any doubt, but is it a done deal that Marquette will play in the new arena when it's built?
Well, I'm not sure. As far as I'm concerned, yes. I think that, if you look at it, even right now in Bradley Center, we are the second biggest tenant. And I think if they're trying to get as many dates in that building as possible and as many people in the seats, to help make the money we need to, it's obvious that I think we're somebody who they would want there.
And your discussions with Wes Edens, though, has he indicated that that's part of his plan?
Well, no, I think the fact that they specifically said that we are their strategic partner, and that to me indicates that they expect us to be there.
What about how much money Marquette will contribute to an arena?
So actually, we've never even had that conversation yet, and in terms of the design, we would have to do a P&L. We've had we've not even talked about, because they're going to do other development than just arena around that site. So yeah, so we've never had a conversation. We're looking at design, and once I think we get further down the road, we will have that opportunity to discuss that, but we haven't had it yet.
Is there a particular university NBA partnership that stands out for you?
That's a pretty good question. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe Bill Scholl, do we have?
Obviously there are other colleges that play in NBA arenas, but I'm not sure. I can't think of any NBA intercollegiate partnership that is equal to what we talked about today. Not that I'm aware of.
Where you're sharing not just potentially a major arena, but also a research facility.
Exactly, right. And I think the facility itself is pretty unique around the country. The fact that we're combining rec sports, community efforts, varsity athletics, academic research, a professional franchise. That's a pretty complex situation that we're talking about. And I think it's going to be something really special as a result of the many forces that will be in that building.
Was there a number on a financial commitment from the Bucks on this?
No. Again, we wanted to announce this, but we're so far away from getting to a point where we're looking at those numbers. But obviously, Wes and I are both committed, to making this happen, and that will include fundraising on our part. We're talking about there's going to be a lot of people. Wes is convinced there's going to be some corporate partners that want to be part of this as well. And so, I think a combination effort. And obviously, if we build the facility right, we're going to hopefully bring in significant research dollars into the region.
Will the facility occupy that entire parcel of land, or are there other things that could go there?
I would think, based on our initial estimates, it'll occupy most of the part. The one thing that will be down there, though, also is parking. We're going to obviously some parking. So one thing we didn't talk about will be located on the footprint on there. And again, I showed a schematic. That is just our preliminary. We're nowhere near ready to say exactly what piece will be on what part of the location of the parcel. But we do know that 7.5 acres will support the indoor facility, will support the athletic film feature center, and parking that would need to be there.
Will you be tearing down the two buildings already on that site right now?
Yeah, if you take a look at the footprint, we would need to take those buildings down to do the things we want to do with the facility.
The Orlando Magic have an off-site training facility that maybe not exactly like what you're proposing, but would there be some practice basketball courts as part of this as well? That may be an architect question, I don't know.
Well, yeah, in terms of the varsity athletic teams that are going to be helped down there, it would not include basketball. The two basketballs and volleyball are at home in the Al McGuire Center, and that will remain their home. Whether or not basketball becomes part of the rec sports mission down there, I don't know. It could, I guess.
And I think speaking specifically about whether or not a training facility, you were, I think mentioning about the Bucks could be housed on that same site. I think we'll have to continue to test the site capacity. Obviously, a lacrosse field and indoor track take up, as you saw, a significant amount of land area, as would an indoor practice facility. But I think we're exploring options and are open to looking at how we can accommodate both, should that materialize.
How much consideration was putting for putting dorms in that area versus an athletic facility, since there's a shortage of housing?
Yeah, well, there's not really a shortage of housing on the campus. I think we're more in a place where we need to upgrade our housing to be competitive with other universities. We have enough housing for our freshmen and sophomores live on the campus. Now, when we thought about that, having housing on that site, our furthest housing right now is Straz Tower, and people already talk about, crossing Wisconsin Avenue, but that's going across the Great Divide. This would actually be a step further away and again put students even farther from the heart of campus, where we have campus life, in this union recreational facility, which is just down the street, and their classes, which are really the main quad of the campus. And so that was something that, there's other spaces on campus that we looked at. If you think about the way the campus is set up in the planning now, currently the block between Wells and Wisconsin, that corridor where we're looking on Union, that's really where we're looking to have the housing. And the other side of Wisconsin, Cladbourne, Wisconsin, is more for the academic side. So we would want to keep housing, even though we have Straz now, we would probably try to keep it in that corridor rather than have it be something else even further away than we have Straz now.
A year ago today, I think you would have been making a much different speech. Any thoughts on what's happening now for UWM, UW system?
Well, certainly, I know that they're going through an extremely challenging time, and I have a lot of friends and former colleagues at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and I know they're going through some very difficult times. They have some difficult decisions to make, and I've said all along, I believe that the University of Wisconsin system is something that we should invest in and be proud of here in the state of Wisconsin. It benefits all of us, and so as they go through the decisions that they're making, I certainly offer any support that I can give to them to help them be more successful.
One thing we haven't asked you about is the mental health component of your announcement today. Tell us how that looks in the community.
Well, first of all, I think we all should recognize, what a challenge, mental health is to our society today. As I mentioned, the numbers: 1 in 4 adults, 1 in 3 students are being treated for some mental health illness. And, I would say that in terms of, and I'm going to bring Bill Cullen up here in a second, with cultural sciences, in terms of research that has happened, on different illnesses that face society, we're behind the times in terms of mental health. And all that has to do with the stigma that mental health has had in the past. And maybe I'll let Bill talk about what he thinks it means for the community.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, everyone. I think the Kubley gift, which is a magnificent gift for the college, helps us to continue something that we started strategically about a dozen years ago, which was to have a neuroscience focus on mental illness. And so these are preclinical studies that are aimed at translational medicine, coming up with antidepressant medications that work more effectively, that work better, that work for more people, and importantly, that work faster. And so I think this research center is going to help us to accelerate the pace of discovery towards that effort.